attorney is now in session. The Honorable Judge Lars Anderson presiding.
Good afternoon, everyone. Go ahead and have a seat. All right, we are on the record this afternoon in Tama County case FECR 018424, State of Iowa versus Karina Cooper. State appears today by Assistant Attorney General Israel Kodiaga, Assistant Attorney General Mike Ringel, and Assistant Tama County Attorney Geneva Williams. Ms. Cooper is personally present with her attorney, Aaron Hawbaker. On July 11th of this year, a jury returned a verdict finding Ms. Cooper guilty of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Sections 701.7 and 707.2, Parent 1, Parent A Class A felony. First thing we need to do today is address Ms. Cooper's motion for a new trial. I have had a chance to review the motion filed by Ms. Cooper as well as the resistance filed by the state. And we'll start with you, Mr. Hawbaker. Is there anything you would like to state further in support of your motion this afternoon?
No, Your Honor, we would stand on the pleading.
All right, and then I'll turn it over to, looks like you've got the microphone there, Mr. Ringel. So, Mr. Ringel, is there anything further you would like to state in support of the resistance to the motion?
Judge, no, the state would rest on the record created in this matter at trial and just note that the greater weight of credible evidence favors the verdict rendered in this case.
All right. Well, as I indicated, I did have a chance to review both the motion and the resistance. The court can grant a new trial in a criminal case when the verdict is contrary to either the law or the evidence. A verdict is contrary to the evidence when it is contrary to the weight of the evidence, meaning that there is a greater amount of credible evidence supporting one side of an issue or cause than the other. In other words, the question before the court is whether there is a greater amount of credible evidence which suggests the verdict rendered was a miscarriage of justice. That is not the case here. I have considered all of the evidence in this case and the statements and arguments made by the parties in their related filings, and I find that the greater weight of evidence supports the verdict. Without reciting all of the evidence that supports the verdict, it includes Ms. Cooper's relationship with Mr. Danker and the messages with Mr. Danker both before and particularly the night and morning of the murder, messages which directly implicate Ms. Cooper and Ryan Cooper's death. Accordingly, the motion for a new trial is denied, and we will turn then to sentencing. At this point, is there any legal cause to be shown why judgment and sentence should not now be had that you're aware of, Mr. Ringel?
No, Your Honor.
How about you, Mr. Hawbaker?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Ringel, does the state wish to be heard with respect to sentencing?
Judge, the state is just requesting that the court impose a sentence of life in prison without parole.
Mr. Hawbaker, do you wish to be heard with respect to sentencing?
It's required by statute, Your Honor, so no.
Okay. Ms. Cooper, Iowa law requires that I give you an opportunity to address me before I render judgment in your case. There's no requirement that you say anything, but if there is anything you would like to say, this is your chance. So, Ms. Cooper, is there anything you would like to state at this point?
I respectfully say no, Your Honor.
All right. Then, Mr. Ringel, I understand that there are some oral victim impact statements to be made. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. There are two.
Okay. And I'm not sure who and where they are, but...
And first, Judge Heather Cooper would like to make a statement.
All right. Good afternoon, Ms. Cooper. I'm going to have you go over there to that chair, please. And there's two microphones over there, but one of them's got a little, that one, yeah, if you could turn it on. And Ms. Cooper, we don't swear you in or do anything like that, but just going to ask that you give us your first name and your last name and spell them so we have that clear for the record.
Okay. Heather, Heather, Cooper, Cooper.
All right, and you've brought something with you, and,
Yes.
Which is fine. Just want to remind you that the court reporter here is going to try to get down what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm probably guilty of this as well because I was reading partly from the script. People do that, they read quick.
Okay.
So just make sure you keep it to where she can keep up with you. All
Okay.
right? Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead, Dan.
Okay. Your Honor, as I said, my name is Heather Cooper. Ryan was my brother-in-law. I want to thank you for this time today, for our family and friends, to have a chance to tell Ryan's story and share our grief and pain. 3 years left living in fear, scared of the unknown. Were we next? Scared for our nephews and our niece. At first, we thought, was this an unknown grudge to a person, to the Cooper family? Then as rumors escalated and time with authorities, it became, could she really have done something like this? I watched my husband live in fear those first few nights, unable to sleep in our home, being first on scene, left horror images in his head and unable to sleep at night, worried for ourselves, worried for our dad. It's a fear I wouldn't wish upon anybody. Why did she put him through that? Was it her last stab? Were we that terrible to her? Hearing names tossed around, but nothing made sense. Houston. What was this about? She never explained. She chose to let us live in the unknown. Then the children. I will never forget those faces. Pure terror that morning. I sat in that vehicle hugging them fiercely, their aunt. Nothing but pure love and fear inside. How does a mother look at her child with fear in their eyes every day and not say anything? Our lives that day were forever changed, but nothing prepared me for this. The day verdict came in, I had an idea of how I would feel. Grateful. Justice was served, right? But it wasn't. It was a different kind of sadness. Honestly, it felt like a death, like she had died. Life forever changed, a family forever broken. She was my sister-in-law. We could forever laugh, made fun of our husbands together, talked about and vent about all the things that drove us nuts about them, but we loved them anyways. I thought we would always have that bond. We were family, even when you drove each other nuts or we pissed each other off. We were family. Then after, it changed. Things were different. She hardly came around. She was distant. She could not wait to get out of there, it seemed like. She showed up, sitting through our family Christmases, almost like you were forced. How'd she do it? Knowing she did what she did. Sick, disgusting. Were our lives really that bad? Your Honor, during trial, you were given a lot of information about the character of her. I want to share Ryan and what this world is missing. He was a quiet man, you heard many say. Gentle, kind, got along with anyone. If he wasn't in those shops, hanging around with friends, you could find him on the farm, 2 little boys in their cowboy boots following shortly behind. He was the one that knew everyone. We would laugh because my husband would constantly get called Ryan. And we'd get, oh, there is another Cooper boy. Mainly because everyone knew him so well. He was the one on the phone, constantly for work. For a quiet guy, he sure was on the phone a lot. He was the guy that left his home in a disaster during a storm to go help the neighbor. He would go on family trips, and you would find him helping the owner out, not because he was asked or because he thought he needed to or needed anything in return. He was a simple man, kind, caring, thoughtful towards others. The pain of what he is missing never goes away. I heard once that when someone dies young versus old, you miss the memories that they never get to make. Ryan and Erin farmed together. It was a generational farm. Hearing stories of great-grandfather down to their dad is some of my favorite stories. They were brothers. Now they might have fought about the silliest things. Never sure who won. Stubbornness seemed to run in the family. At the end of the day, it all worked its way out. Maybe ending with a good beverage and a job well done. My husband would tell you the year before Ryan died was one of his favorite times in the business. They were finally getting the dynamic. Mom was gone, sister stepping into that role. It was a full circle family business. Something to be proud of. Ryan would have told you he could not wait to show his boys how it was done. Counting down the years, he could finally throw them up in that tractor and say, "Get it done." Gosh, he was happy. We were happy. Now there's a hole in the business. A father no longer gets to teach the next generation. That is not how it should be. That is something we don't get back. That is our forever broken family chain. There are 7 children in this story forever changed, forever broken. Ryan's oldest, now a young, fine man. Ryan didn't get to see him graduate. Ryan would have been so proud. He was hopeful that he would move closer and he could see him more. I can see it now, talking about his job and his cool car. Oh, Ryan would have loved to ride in that cool car. We would all laugh together, saying, "Boys and their toys." 3 children forever must live with that awful day in mind, suffering massive trauma no child should ever have to witness. They never received any form of therapy until they moved in with us. I kept asking, why not? They always seemed weird to me. Why would you not want to get your children help? Since they started, they all have said it's been very positive for them. They are forced to live in fear for 3 years. She was moving them to multiple homes. When they came to live with us, we would have to check the doors. They didn't like the nighttime. These are things that we still live with today. They want locks on their rooms to feel safe. How does a mother know what she knows? Watch her children that way. I will never forgive or ever understand. She putting them through this. Cousins have now become siblings. I even find them saying that sometimes. My husband and I have 3 girls and they have to share their parents. Our nephews and niece talking about how they no longer have a mom or a dad. This is the part that is unfair. We did it without a beat. I would do anything for those children. But we should not have to. Their lives should not have been broken and taken from them. We have spent the last year supporting and encouraging, never talking ill about her. No, that was not for her. That was for them. She is their mom, and they may always have some sort of biological bond to her. I would never hurt them, and that is why we don't do anything that could potentially upset them. Hearing we were made to feel by them like we didn't want them in our lives after Ryan's death infuriates me. We try keeping in contact, always met with excuses or not even a return call. Maybe that was your form of guilt. As we move forward of a family of 8, I want her to know what she gave up. We will be at every baseball, football, volleyball, and whatever game they choose. I will sit in that stand and I will yell proudly. I want them to look up and smile, and I want them to know that they are loved and supported. I will help them with homecoming, proms, the boys to pick their tuxes, take that little girl to get her nails and her hair done, pick out that perfect dress. We will teach them to drive and prepare for the future, go to the college tours, help them in their dorms, and create the life they wanted. Aaron will step into that role that Ryan should have played, showing the boys how the farming is done, being there through the good and the bad days. We will spend forever showing them what a loving marriage is. When they find that special someone, we will help them plan that special day, helping that not so little girl anymore pick out that beautiful white dress. Aaron walking her down the aisle, looking at her saying, "Your dad would be so proud. He would like this one." When they start having families of their own, we will let them call us Grandma and Grandpa, loving those kids, taking them to all the lake and family vacations. Number one thing for them, we will love them and make sure that they are forever safe. Pray they won't fear trusting and loving others. I forever pray she did not damage them from loving. I go places now and it feels different. What once was happy memories her and her lover have destroyed. She destroyed so much of a positive future and ruined so much of a past. For what? Him? I don't understand. There were so many other options. Divorce, seeking counseling. Why? Will you ever tell us? I will forever be grateful to the authorities that stay constant in our lives. Poor my husband, that never missed a week of calling. Honestly, it just became part of our schedule. They got to know his number well, checking and seeing where they were, making sure Ryan was never forgotten. How many times did she call? Maybe once, twice, in 3 years? 3 years, anger and mixed emotions, trying to decide if we would have to remain around her forever, never really knowing the truth. The detectives on the case became our family, supporting our family, helping us through emotions. We were met with support and kindness. We never would have made it through these last few years without the support of the family and friends and the community coming together, putting these kids first. Her friends became ours. Her family became ours. I know Ryan is proud. The guy always helping would be proud. She destroyed people, manipulated people, some in their most vulnerable times of their lives, claiming she had been through tragedy and loss and pain and could support. What kind of sick person does that? Was it worth it? This online, you say, relationship, was it worth it? Awful, deceiving person. She deserves the worst. But I'm tired of focusing on her. I want to plan trips and make schedules, hang out with friends, laugh at good times, make amazing memories. I don't want her to be the topic anymore. I want to enjoy life without hanging over us. So this is it. Last she will see of us. Last I will address her. Last I will care to give her any thought. She can now go to prison.
Mr. Engel?
Judge, thank you. Michelle Wilson would like to make a statement as well.
Good afternoon, Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson, if you could just give us your first and last name as well and spell them so we have it clear.
Sure. Michelle Wilson, MICHELLEWILSON.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wilson, and whenever you're ready, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, today's the day. The day I can finally speak out about how this narcissistic psychopath made the incomprehensible choice to rid her pathetic life of my brother, Ryan Cooper. I began writing notes for this statement over 4 years ago. The first note started just one day after Ryan's murder. The day we sat in the building right next door and learned who was responsible for this heinous crime. Ryan was my little brother, 10 years younger than myself. From the time he was old enough to walk, he was kicking around in cowboy boots and farming from the living room floor with his extensive set of red Case IH die-cast farm implements and his Peterbilt, semi-tractors and trailers. That kid was no doubt going to be a farmer. As he grew up, he quickly moved on to dirt bikes, four-wheelers, and real tractors. He loved all kinds of toys, even in his adulthood. During planting and harvesting seasons, Ryan couldn't wait to get out of school and into the cab of a tractor. There was never any question about what Ryan wanted to be when he grew up. He was a farmer through and through. It was also clear from a young age that Ryan had a fondness for little ones. I have so many photos of Ryan holding and playing with my babies, his nieces and nephews. Even more than being a farmer, he wanted to be a dad. Nothing made him prouder and more overjoyed than having a family of his own. His 4 children, Cole, Cade, Gable, and Cortland, were his most cherished treasures, and he loved them with every ounce of his being. On June 18th, 2021, all of this was taken from Ryan, and Ryan was taken from us. Back in July, just 2 months ago, we all heard the horrific details of the day that Ryan was murdered, and the absolutely disgusting 5 months of planning that led up to that day. But what ensued in the coming months, weeks, coming days, weeks, months, and years was atrocious. Imagine your brother had been murdered. Imagine the person responsible for his murder was living in your brother's home along with him and his 3 young children. The heinous crime was committed in their home while 3 of the children slept upstairs. No efforts were made by the person responsible to protect his children from either the purported random intruder or from the horrific crime scene. Within 24 hours, you've been assured by law enforcement that the evidence collected thus far undeniably demonstrates her involvement. Though much of the evidence is unable to be disclosed, you know just enough to begin putting the pieces together. Meanwhile, you are grieving and processing the murder of your brother. You are planning a funeral, all the details being decided alongside your brother's murderer. And that's just the beginning. The person responsible for your brother's murder now has custody of your brother's children. This person, who is typically a passionate, intense, assertive, and aggressive person, has nothing to share with law enforcement, offers no details or insights into who or how someone could come into their home and murder your brother, and never seeks a single update on the status of the case from law enforcement. Over the next 32 months, you want to see your brother's children. You want to remain part of their lives. You want them to know how important they are to you. But in order to do that, you have to spend birthdays, holidays, vacations, other family events, and community activities with your brother's murderer. You want to be there for anything and everything your niece and nephews might need. But along with spending time with the kids, you must also spend time with your brother's murderer. You want to help support their well-being and provide for their basic needs if they have lost not only their father, but the place they could call home. So you provide them and your brother's murderer with family acreage. During all this time, your brother's murder is parading around the community, portraying herself as a grieving widow and a victim. She is manipulating anyone and everyone who would listen. She rarely ever speaks your brother's name, only occasionally mentioning him in conversation, and then referring to him only as husband. She sought praise and accolades for her actions and her efforts in building this new life for herself and her children. The new life that began when she murdered your brother. She even expresses to others how she felt the Cooper family was failing to support her and the children, like we had just abandoned them altogether and were choosing to exclude them from our family. Thankfully, many could see through her lies, but unfortunately, many others were caught up in her manipulation. As much as we wanted to face Ryan's murderer, confront her about her actions, to tell her we weren't believing her lies, we had to keep up the facade. We continued to hug her. We continued to tell her we loved her. All the while, she's still believing she's successfully hiding her deepest, darkest secret, that she murdered our brother in cold blood. We did that for the children, to protect and maintain our relationship with Ryan's children. And we did that to allow the investigators time to assemble and prepare the solid, masterful, and airtight case we heard at trial. Ryan, we will never stop saying Ryan's name. We will never stop celebrating Ryan's life. And we will never stop supporting Ryan's greatest and most beautiful legacy, his children. Cole, Cade, Cable, and Cortland will forever know how much their father loved them and how so very proud of them he was. Ryan will forever be remembered as a wonderful father, son, brother, uncle, friend, truck driver, neighbor. He was a man of few words. He spent hours on the phone, hours on end, making phone calls. And you all remember the headset and the miles and miles he paced while talking on his phone. And though it seemed he only had a few close friends, the attendance at his funeral and the miles-long line of semis at his funeral procession say the most about who he was to our community. Ryan was sentenced to death by this murderer. Those of us left on earth were sentenced to life without Ryan. There is no justice. There will be no forgiveness. What I hope for now is simply closure. There is no sentence for you that would adequately punish you for your evil, vile, selfish, delusional, and narcissistic actions. I will waste no time and no energy in addressing you about that. My full, complete, and final message to you is go to hell. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any further victim impact statements, Mr. Ringel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Then at this time, Ms. Cooper is adjudicated to be guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Sections 701.7 and 707.2, Parent 1, Parent A, and judgment is entered accordingly. She is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Her custody is placed with the Director of the Division of Adult Corrections. Her temporary custody with the County Sheriff. Ms. Cooper shall pay victim restitution to the estate of Ryan Cooper in the amount of $150,000 as required by Iowa Code Section 910.3B, Parent 1. And Mr. Hawbaker, there was a supplemental restitution request to Crime Victim Services, I believe, in the amount of $14,944.76. Any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
And shall also make restitution in that amount to Crime Victim Compensation Program. Ms. Cooper shall also make restitution for court costs in the amount established by the clerk of court and restitution for court-appointed counsel fees. Are you requesting any fees, Mr. Hawbaker?
No, Your Honor.
With respect to Category B restitution, I've reviewed an affidavit that Mr. Hawbaker has. Mr. Ringel, have you seen that?
I have, Your Honor, yes.
Does the state have any objection to me making a decision based on Ms. Cooper's ability to pay Category B restitution based on my review of that affidavit?
No, Your Honor.
All right, well, having reviewed that affidavit, I will waive payment of Category B restitution in Ms. Cooper's case. As required by Chapter 81 of the Iowa Criminal Code, Ms. Cooper shall provide a DNA sample to the Department of Correctional Services for purposes of DNA profiling. Based on the nature of the offense and as required by Iowa Code Section 811.1, there's no bail in this case. As far as the reasons for my sentence are concerned, the sentence imposes a mandatory sentence about which the court has no discretion. I will say, this was a senseless crime. Mr. Cooper was, by what I heard at trial and from the statements I heard today, a hardworking, kind, generous man who loved his children and his many friends. Ms. Cooper, your actions, whether you were the one who shot Mr. Cooper or whether as a result of aiding and abetting Houston Danker resulted in his death, they deprived your children of not only a father, but of a mother. And I can't really state any more eloquently than was stated in the victim impact statements, the broader impact it's had on Mr. Cooper's many friends and family. Ms. Cooper, I do need to inform you that you have a right to appeal this case to the Iowa Supreme Court. If you're unable to pay the costs of an appeal, you have the right to apply to this court for appointment of counsel and furnishing them any necessary transcripts of relevant proceedings. All is provided for in Iowa Criminal Code, Chapter 814. If you do want to appeal, you have to perfect your appeal by filing a written notice of appeal with the Tama County Clerk of Court no later than 30 days from today's date. Perfection of your appeal in that matter is jurisdictional. Failure to comply with the provisions set out in Iowa Criminal Code Chapter 814 would preclude you from your right to pursue an appeal. If you do want to appeal, you have to have a copy of your notice of appeal served on or delivered to the Iowa Attorney General's office. I believe that concludes the record. Mr. Ringel, is there any further record that the state believes needs to be made at this point?
No, thank you.
Mr. Hawbaker, any further record that you believe needs to be made?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then that will conclude the record. Counsel, can I just, when you get a moment, can I talk to each of you just real quick?